Alright, so we've had a bunch of reveals lately, and old
Talon wants to talk about them.
there's some that I've held off talking about just so I could do more of a larger video than just a video on 1 or 2 figures, some of which may have been officially revealed a while ago or leaked even longer than that. So we're going to start off with the legacy stuff, and we'll go from the smallest class up, and of course that's starting off with the core class, and I don't really care about any of these. Nemesis Prime looks neat, don't care. Thundercracker looks neat, don't care. Grimlock doesn't really look neat just because it's trying to do a lot for a core class figure. I do kind of give it a pass on its very noticeable flaws just because it is a combiner at that size, but again I just don't have an interest in this. Now looking at the deluxe class, there is the Junkion Crash Bar, who continues the gimmick started by Scrap Hook, and I think he looks pretty cool. I'm gonna get this guy as well. Haven't been able to get Scrap Hook yet, but I really like the idea behind these guys, especially sort of continuing on the whole Airazor, weaponizer, fossilizer thing. I think he looks cool. I like him. Next up there's Shrapnel, and I think he looks alright. I did not get Kickback, so I don't really plan to get this guy. I might get Kickback if I see him on clearance or something like that, but right now, Next up there is Senator Crosscut, and I like the look of this guy. I have heard that the Legacy Skids mold isn't the best. I don't have any version of that mold. Usually I do like Crosscut the best out of the possible repaints and remolds associated with Skids, and he looks fine. This is one I don't plan to get, but maybe if he's on clearance or something I might go for him. Then there's Animated Prowl, who I actually like a good bit. I do wish this was more of a straight update to Animated Prowl, but I do think this does a good job at the whole sort of blending of the aesthetics thing. Way better than the first 3 Prime figures that we had. Even though again I have kind of come around to those guys, they still have an issue of kind of taking away some of the uniqueness of those original character designs. But this one, he looks like Animated Prowl. I feel like you can recognize this as being an animated based design and character. I don't know, I just think he looks good and I'm looking forward to getting him. Moving on up to Voyager class, there is Metal Hawk, and I have no interest in this guy. He's from Master Force, and I hate Master Force. I think it might be the second worst cartoon in all of Transformers, with only Energon being below it. I just was not a fan of that show at all, so that gives me next to no interest in this guy. Speaking of things I don't have an interest in, next up is Twin Cast. I found the Kingdom/Legacy Blaster mold to be pretty good. I do like him a good bit. I really like the transformation on that one. And this is him in Twin Cast colors, and it looks fine. Again, I have no interest in this. But hey, it looks cool for those who want him. Then next for Legacy in the Leader class, there is the Transformers Prime Skyquake. And I honestly love the look of this guy. I think he does a fantastic job of blending the aesthetics, kind of like the Animated Prowl. When there were the first leaked pictures of this guy, I was able to instantly recognize him as Prime Skyquake. And as usual with these, would I have preferred a more straightforward update? Of course. But I think this guy really works. The chest might be a bit flat, and I do wish that his cannon was a bit more substantial, just a bit bigger, I guess. But otherwise, this looks very solid. The robot mode looks good. I really dig the jet mode. It can dock with the deluxe class Needle Nose, which I'm sure will come into play with a G1 based version of Skyquake if they ever get around to it. I'm looking forward to this guy. I hope to do a Dreadwing version. I want to say that was already leaked somewhere, so we should be getting a Dreadwing version, and I'll be getting that. And if this is a good enough mold, which it looks to be, I wouldn't mind maybe possibly looking at some other versions of it. Like I said, there's a potential G1 version. I want to say there was Machine Wars Starscream, I want to say, which that could be cool too. Who knows? Yeah, I am really looking forward to this guy. And that's all they physically showed from Legacy. They did do a confirmation of figures coming up, a sort of a coming through the space bridge thing. It's in the pipeline reveals. And there was a decent bit of stuff here. There's a Beachcomber confirmed, a G1 DevCon, which you guys used the wrong DevCon. It needs to be a movie DevCon, Dark of the Moon DevCon Supremacy. There's a Junkion called Axle Grease coming, which hey, more of them, and I kind of dig that name. There's going to be a re-release of the War for Cybertron Earthrise Dirge. There's going to be a Nemesis Leo Prime, which hey, if it looks cool enough, I might go for that one. I'm digging the look of the Masterpiece version of that. They confirmed Armada Megatron, which I'm super hyped for. That has been leaked before, and he's going to be, I believe, a leader class. And then they're going to do a more classic based Optimus Prime out of the Holiday Optimus Prime mold. There is the G2 Combat Hero Optimus Prime, which this figure looks like it can definitely be used for. So I'm sure we'll get something along those lines, which hey, that could be neat as well. I still need to get the Holiday version though, so I actually really dig that. And one last thing with Legacy Legacy that I would like to point out is that they showed a new thing of artwork for Legacy Evolution, and it's mostly the same as the previous one from the reveals back in, what was it, August, September, somewhere in there. Only this time, Armada Optimus Prime is not on it, which has caused some speculation as if maybe he's getting canceled or maybe he's being moved farther back into the third part of this trilogy. Hopefully it's just a case of they had to rearrange and take out some things just so they could put the name up there, which I'm leaning towards that being the case, especially since leaked listings are still saying that Armada Optimus Prime is the commander figure for Evolution, but of course, we'll see. Now let's move on to the Studio Series side of things, which everything is associated with the Rise of the Beast movie coming out. Starting off with small stuff, there is the core class Arcee, who she definitely has issues, a whole bunch of stuff on the back, the large wheels in the feet, but at the same time, again, it's a core class. I don't necessarily mind. I think looking at it from that point of view, it's okay. Just given the size and the limitations of everything, I don't really mind. She was apparently put into the core class because of the scale, and that makes me wonder if we're even going to get a bigger version. Many people are like, oh, she's going to get a deluxe, but if they're going with the whole scale thing, I'm not really sure. Of course, we'll see, but I'm not really betting on it myself. I'll probably get Arcee to complete the cast of the movie and whatnot. Definitely flawed, but hopefully it'll still be a fun figure in hand. There's the core class Freezer, who I like the look from the start of this guy, and of course, like most of everybody, I thought it was Frenzy at first, with a vaguely similar design, and of course the name being pretty close to first three letters and the Z. This guy looks pretty cool. I dig the design, and apparently this character or characters, depending if it's a generic, will not be transforming in the movie, so they kind of had to make up an alt mode, and it has two different alt modes, kind of a gun and sort of a turret thing, and it all interacts with Scourge or really anyone with the ports, and I think that's very cool. I dig the look of it on the truck mode of Scourge, and he's one I'll definitely be getting. Maybe it'll be one that I'll look into army building, just depending on how many of these guys are in the movie. If it is indeed sort of a generic thing, I wouldn't mind a little small group of these guys to put with the Terracons. Going into the deluxe class, there is the Bumblebee figure, and I've already covered him in the previous new reveals video. He still looks alright here. I do plan to get him, but there is Airazor, and I like the look of her a lot. She obviously borrows the engineering from the Kingdom Deluxe figure, but Kingdom Airazor is awesome. It's one of my favorite figures from 2021, so I don't really see it as a bad thing here, aside from a bit of a janky looking bird mode, I will admit. Having said that, I do dig the bird mode. I like the robot mode a lot. I like this design for Airazor. I'm really looking forward to this one. Moving on up to Voyagers, there is Battletrap, but like Bumblebee, I already covered him and still planning on getting him. He looks super cool. But then there is the Voyager Cheetor, and man, I really dig this design and figure. I think the figure looks pretty good on the whole, maybe a bit blocky here and there, but maybe that's how the design will look in the movie itself. We'll just kind of have to see, because he's only been spotted in the background of the trailer in his robot mode, but I dig this robot mode design a lot. Yeah, he could probably use a bit more painted details and whatnot on this figure, but I'm sure that will look better in the movie itself. And I really dig how it kind of looks like sort of a combination of all of Cheetor's designs from Beast Wars and Beast Machines. Like, I feel like you can see an influence from everything, and I really dig that. I like this design a lot, and I can't wait to get this figure. Looks pretty cool. Then there is the much talked about leader class Scourge, and yes, I just realized that I've been kind of saying it two different ways. I'm conflicted on this guy because I do agree with everybody that this doesn't really look like a leader class price figure. I'll even agree with that. But at the same time, I do think it looks okay. It does have some issues, like some gaps and stuff in the vehicle mode, and of course there's been stuff said about the grill, because the truck grill keeps the deformed look for the robot mode instead of having the normal truck grill look, which on the one hand, yeah, that kind of sucks, but at the same time, sure, it won't be movie accurate, but I mean, this figure already isn't movie accurate, being based on the concept art / control art for the design. So like, I kind of dig it. It adds more to the sort of messed up nightmare looking truck. It has all of the insignias on the front, which looks super cool. Then there's the robot mode. Some of the proportions do look a bit odd. The legs are a little bit skinny, the neck a bit long, but I don't know. I don't really mind it for the most part. Some people have complained that he is a little short. He's only about as tall as the Revenge of the Fallen and 2007 movie Voyager Megatrons from Studio Series. In a way though, I find that to be slightly unfair, I guess, of a comparison, because those figures are pretty big for Voyagers. Yeah, you can argue, well, it's still a big Voyager, if anything, that makes it even more sad for this to be a leader class. I don't know. Those guys are kind of the exception in size size, not the rule for Voyagers, you know? I don't know, me personally, I don't find it to be a big deal. But still, I do kind of agree that he doesn't look quite leader class worthy. I'm still digging what we see, of course, with this guy and maybe even all the other ones depending on what exactly they're based on. I do hope we get more movie accurate figures down the line. I still don't mind getting any of these guys that are based more so off of the concept art. You know, it's a lot like the old movie lines. Yeah, you know, Studio Series is all about movie accuracy, at least as much as it can do. But I don't really think you should hold it against it with stuff like this where stuff will change all the time behind the scenes. Hasbro can only do so much with keeping designs accurate. But yeah, there's definitely been a good bit of cool stuff revealed here. I'm sure I've sounded a bit negative, especially with the Legacy revealed. One thing that I wanted to touch on that they talked about during the live stream was that they put down gatekeeping, which, you know, good on them. Talked about how gatekeeping, especially within the Transformers fandom, is kind of ridiculous considering all of the different versions out there. So whether it's G1, Beast Wars, RID, the movies, that it's really dumb. And then the fact that there are some fans out there that defend this, some obnoxiously and dickishly so, is pretty freaking ridiculous. So good on them, or maybe more specifically good on Evan for bringing that up. But hey, what did you guys think of everything? What figures are you most looking forward to here, and which ones are you not looking forward to? Let me know down in the comments. As always, I want to give a big thanks to everyone for watching, and have a good one.